something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, howdy folks, how are you? Hope you're doing all right on a very fine Sunday in Adelaide, can I tell you. It's a beautiful part of the world. We've finally arrived. It's, well, we've spent the day basically travelling along the Coorong, which was pretty spectacular, I've got to say. If you haven't been through that area, and I hadn't ever been that way before, Vince sort of suggested maybe we come back that way. And I've got to say, absolutely loved the drive. Beautiful part of the world, and of course a very special part of Australia to be involved there. So if you have the opportunity to pop into the Coorong at any stage, then can I recommend to you, please do. There are plenty of great places you can stay, including Kingston. We came through Kingston today. I got a picture of the Big Lobster. I just haven't uploaded it here for you. We actually had some fish and chips in Kingston for lunch. Lovely little place, the Haven Seafoods it was called. G'day Sid, done well. Really good feed there. So if you're going through Kingston, check Sid's place out, right opposite the Royal Hotel, I think it was, or it might be the Royal Mail Hotel. No, the pub probably was open, but Vince and I didn't participate. What a great weekend we had in Mount Gambier. Can I just say, a little bit hard to get signal out. Friday, particularly Saturday night, we wound up having a bit of a dinner in a hotel, which was lovely too. And of course, the 8:32 events, which went Friday, Saturday, and into today as well, with a big market that happened in Mount Gambier this morning too, went off really well. Hello to everybody that turned up. Lovely to see and meet you all, and meet some people that I grew up with 40 years ago. Hello, Leonie. Hello, Craig. Lovely to see you guys again. Absolutely stunning to catch up with people from my past. Really, really great. So had a great time. I particularly want to thank Brett and Sarah, the organisers for the 8:32 event in Mount Gambier. I think it was the first time they'd put an event on, and for first timers, they did a bloody great job, especially Brett on the barbecue. Did pretty well, although I saw Viv doing a fair bit of cooking on the barbecue, if I'm honest. Also, great weekend spent with good old friends, including Tim Dwyer. Unfortunately, Craig Cole couldn't make it. He had a car problem. He blew something in his engine and was unable to make it all the way to Mount Gambier. So that was a bit unfortunate, because I had hoped to catch up with Craig. I missed him a week ago in Echuca. We were going to sit down and record something then, and for one reason or another, it never happened. So I thought I'd catch up with him this weekend, and we've missed out again. Guess that means we'll just have to get him on for another live, maybe sometime next week. So yeah, a fabulous time trekking around the countryside, a very expensive time trekking around the countryside. And to that end, I want to thank Vince, because he has pretty much funded this entire trip, and it wouldn't have happened without him. I'll put it that way. And I'm indebted to you, mate. Thank you very much. You're a wonderful man. And speaking of the wonderful man he is, we've decided to dispense with a crown and put it upon his head. And he is now in charge of the FBN Media channel that we have been setting up quietly in the background for some time. And when I say setting up quietly, well, we sort of started it and I did nothing else. Vince has now grabbed a hold of it with both hands. So you will find over the course of the next few days quite a lot of things going up on our FBN Media YouTube, and more particularly our FBN Media Rumble channel, particularly on Saturday night. Did we have dinner Saturday night? No, Friday night. We had a great get-together at the Pantry in Mount Gambier, where there were a number of speakers who, in a panel sort of format, did a bit of a Q&A session. That has been recorded and will be uploaded either overnight or in the next 24 hours or so. Vince is looking after that. There's a couple of small edits that have to be made in it before we can upload it. And I highly recommend you go and have a look at that when it gets up. And please like and subscribe the FBN Media channel on both YouTube and on Rumble. You will see more truth, if you like, on Rumble, because we are both suffering, including the FBN Media site on YouTube. We are both suffering from being throttled. We are being suppressed, and your likes, your subscribes may or may not get through, particularly on YouTube. But on Rumble, absolutely no problem. And the edited videos that you will see on YouTube, you can actually find the full versions of on Rumble, because some of the things that are discussed, including the jabby and the all of that, will get us kicked off and struck off and pissed off with YouTube, because they clearly haven't caught up with the rest of the world on what the medical misinformation really is, and that, for me, puts them clearly in the bucket of wanting to propagate the misinformation, and certainly allowed people like myself and others and Vince who want to tell the truth, they don't allow it. So just remember that when you're forking out your $15 a month to go ad-free on YouTube. These bastards don't care about truth, they don't care about honesty, and they certainly don't care about you hearing about it. In fact, they will actively suppress it. So bear that in mind. But our FBN Media channel, FBN Media on YouTube, FBN Media on Rumble, please go and have a look. And over the next couple of days, you will be able to see quite a lot of stuff, a lot of interviews. And in fact, I'm not sure if we're going to put up every presenter, but we may well put up every presenter from the weekend. We filmed every speech, every person making a speech, and all of that, I think, will go up at different times. And there were some terribly good speeches. I'm not going to allude to any of them now. What you should do is head over to FBN over the next day or two and have a bit of a look. They will be going up progressively over the course of this week. I'm not going to dump it all on Vince in one night, obviously. And he can take his time putting it all up. But there is some really great messages, some very great information from a number of speakers that you really need to be aware of. Some of those speakers include Tim Dwyer, of course, the lovely Leah, who will be familiar to South Australians. She's been fighting on a number of different levels and was working with Vince during the A1 campaign a couple of years ago too. Thank you, Leah, for all your help and the drink this morning. Really appreciate it. I want to say good day to Wayno and Ian, who come from Wilmington. That's a fair way up into South Australia, up on the Flinders Ranges, or in the Flinders Ranges. Now, the boys at the moment will be, well, they're probably staying the night somewhere around in Adelaide or on the outskirts tonight before heading further north. But boys, sorry we missed you today. Lovely to catch up with you, though. And I had a great time with you over the last couple of weeks because, well, it's not often you get traveling companions on the road. So it was good, really good to have you guys around. Also wonderful to meet so many new faces. So many new faces that are interested in all the different levels of the deceit that is going on around us. And hopefully I was able to answer a few questions. Hopefully we might have tweaked a few imaginations, and maybe we managed to motivate a few more people. And next time we come back to Mount Gambier, we hope to see more people turning up to the event. It was a great event, very dedicated bunch of people. I think there's a group of about maybe 600 or 700 around the Mount Gambier area who are very dedicated to the causes that we are speaking about in this program and those causes that others speak about. We're all dedicated to freedom. We're all dedicated to ridding ourselves of the tyranny of government in this country. And it really is a tyranny of government in this country, an unlawful government at that. But if you don't understand why it's unlawful, it'll be very hard for you to argue that. So coming to these sorts of events, like the 832 muster, lets you mix with those sorts of people who have a greater understanding, and they pass some of that on, and you will be able to pass your knowledge back to them, of course, because not everybody knows everything. And I'm the first one to admit I know basically nothing. But when we come together in fellowship at places like these 832 musters, it is just like coming home to a family, all the loving, all the great conversations, and, well, the odd disagreement or two. That's what families are all about, but we don't let disagreements pull us apart, do we? Well, there is one disagreement I'm going to have with a politician. It may pull us apart a little bit. Does that give you an indication of what it might be? Oh, Pauline. At the moment, the Indians coming into this country are the main reason for the housing crisis. Now, I understand Pauline needs to get re-elected. I understand that going to the Sikhs and trying to appeal to them is probably something politically she can't afford not to do. However, it's a really bad look, in my opinion, a really bad look. And I'm just disappointed that she feels she needs to go that far. However, if she doesn't, there is a chance she'll never get elected. And if she doesn't get elected, who's the one that's going to try and speak truth for us in that place in Canberra? Who is the one that's going to try and keep an eye on the immigration? Because nobody else is in that place. Peter Dutton has gone back today on his promise to lower net immigration. He's now decided that he won't release their immigration plan until after the election, which would be useful if he gets elected, I guess, to govern, and the Liberal Party get elected to govern. God help us if that happens. But what are we going to stay with Albo? And unless you people want to stand up and form something new that will actually give us hope, we're going to be stuck with these numpties forever. So the ball is firmly back in our court, your court. We need people in your area to stand up so that people like us can vote for you. Because we don't want to vote for these numpties. We don't want to vote for these wishy-washy, mealy-mouthed politicians, professional bullshitters. Sick to death of them. Sick to death of them. But I'm also starting to get a bit sick to death with the movement. We all talk about it. We all gather around. We have sausages. We pat each other on the back. But what are we going to do about it? Go and have another barbecue? Go and have another gathering? I don't know. There are plans afoot, but I've got to say I've had the blood sucked out of me this last couple of weeks. I've become a little disillusioned for a variety of reasons. So it's been a long couple of weeks. Doesn't mean that the news doesn't stop. Here's more bullshit to talk about. Indigenous protected areas. Middle Beach is a beach in the northern areas of Arnhem Land. Now, you can't apparently now go on this beach, even though the beach is maintained by public money. The roads leading to the beach were built with public money. The infrastructure around the beach is all provided by public money. That's money that you and I have put forward. But if we want to go to Middle Beach, and it's not the only beach in Australia, rest assured, you're going to find these Indigenous protected area signs up in many places. And what's that mean? Well, that means that if you're a family, your annual permit to go to the beach for 2 adults and up to 4 children is going to cost you $207.50. If you are just a single person, $108 for a year. A 1-month visitor person will cost $89.25, with a 14-day permit to cost $57.60, and a 3-day one, $39. If you're a kid, it'll be $15.50 per child. I thought this shit ended with the no vote, but clearly not. And clearly the state and territory governments have no interest in following the mood of the nation. They're going to continue doing this bullshit. And of course, the Aboriginal land councils or whoever it is in charge of these bullshit signs on these beaches are lapping up the money. I will say one good thing. Up in the Burdekin in Queensland, the council there has now decided there will be no more welcome to countries. That's because the local Indigenous people up there are finding it embarrassing, because those conducting these welcome to country ceremonies and being paid anywhere from $750 to $1,500 to do it are just corporatizing the whole. They're just draining it. They're not even part of the local mob in some cases. They are just the ones that have the contract with the council. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting that this sort of shit can go on after Australia spoke with the voice election or the voice referendum last year. Truly disgusting. What are you going to do about it, folks? We're going to go and have a barbecue and a sausage and sit around and pat each other on the back? Or is somebody going to stand up so that we can vote for them to go to that place and join with others of similar mind to change this shit, to stop this shit, to give people in this country hope again. I'm starting to lose faith that that'll ever happen. Because it's only through motivating people like you to stand up and act that this is going to change. It's the only way. Unless you want to pick up the pitchforks. And sadly, it's probably getting close to the time to pick up the pitchforks, because if not, you're going to need knee pads. Because you're going to be on your knees for the rest of your life. And no doubt they'll give you something nasty to taste while you're down there. Here's a nasty taste. 15 more celebs named. I think you're probably familiar with all the ones in those pictures so far. I'm led to believe that in the next 2 weeks there is going to be mass name releases. There will be video releases. And one of the weirder things that's happened today is Leonardo DiCaprio has come out and started bleating about his time with Diddy and going to the freak-offs. He's trying to calm the farm, stop people looking too hard into it. And you've got to think that when it's coming from the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio, who is very private, who doesn't speak about his personal life in any way, shape or form, and never comments on rumor, for him to come out as vehemently as he has, well, what's the old saying? Methinks he does protest too much. I think that is probably the case. Speaking of protesting, well, not really protesting. We've been aware for some time that Barack Obama obviously has been working behind the scenes with the Biden administration, but prior to that, through his own administration, and he's had 12 years to be able to do a great deal of damage. Well, it seems now GCHQ have decided to tell the truth about a great deal of it. Now, if you don't know who GCHQ are, you might know them better as MI6. MI6 are a part of GCHQ. This is the British intelligence arm. Now, the British intelligence arm were responsible for a great many things during the election campaign for Donald Trump in 2016. You might remember that he had to move out of Trump Tower. Part of the reason he had to move out of Trump Tower was because it was bugged, but it was more than bugged. It had vision. It had bugs on telephones. It had bugs in rooms. And at every point during the campaign, there were secret satellites dedicated simply to following Trump so that they could listen to and monitor every action and every word he spoke during that entire campaign. How do we know that? Well, that is a GCHQ memo or document report outlining exactly their responsibilities to that. So we were all told it was a conspiracy theory. Obama told us it was wrong completely. Well, this clearly proves that's not the case. So where does that leave us? Well, it's illegal for US agencies to employ, and I'm talking specifically about the CIA here, it's illegal for them to employ any kind of tactics on US soil, let alone against a US citizen. And that is exactly what they've done. Now, Kash Patel has been named the head of the FBI, and I believe there has been another nominee for the head of the CIA. If it is the person that I believe has been nominated, then they're going to tear holes, big holes in people over this. And people should be going to jail or to the gallows or to the firing squad because they have committed the most heinous kind of treason. But will they is the $64,000 question. Well, Trump is dedicated to try and get as many of them into the courts and the judicial system that he aims to clean up as possible. But he doesn't take office until January the 20th. What is Joe Biden doing? Well, you heard about Hunter Biden's pardon for the 2 crimes that he was actually convicted of. One was tax evasion, and the other was signing a gun license or a gun registration thing when he or didn't sign it when he should have, or should have signed it when he didn't do it. I don't know. Something to do with the gun. And they were by far the lesser charges. There were no charges relating to his time with Burisma, no charges relating to his involvement in his father's extortion of the Ukrainian government using $1 billion of US taxpayer money. Nothing to do with any of that. But now it's opened an interesting channel of operations for Biden and the list of deep state cronies that he has been protecting for the last 4 years. What is that avenue? It's called a pre-pardon. The whisper is that Biden, probably before Christmas, will announce a raft of pardons or preemptive pardons for a variety of people in his administration. People like Anthony Fauci, people like Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, the head of the CIA, the head of the DOJ, who is Garland, the head of, well, a number of intelligence agencies. All of them, it sounds like, are going to get a form of preemptive pardon. What does a preemptive pardon mean? Well, it means you can't be charged with any crime that happened during the period the pardon is set for. That will mean that Christopher Wray will be pardoned for everything he has done to protect Hunter Biden and the Hunter Biden laptop story. He will be protected from all of the attacks that he sent agents out for on Donald Trump. He will be protected from all of the interagency illegality that he has been part of. All of them. Fauci, protected from anything he did as the head of the pandemic, how he allocated funds to Wuhan and other places for the advancement of the spicy cough, and all of that pardoned. And you can expect all of that before Christmas. Now, that probably makes you a little bit disheartened, but it shouldn't. For the same reasons that I explained the other night with Hunter Biden, if these pardons are to occur, it doesn't mean that these people can't be brought into a court and questioned. What it does mean, if they are brought into a court and questioned, it means that they cannot refuse to answer. Why? Because they've been pardoned. They can't be charged with anything they say. They could say, I murdered Mary and her little lamb, and I enjoyed it. And they will walk out of that court scot-free. However, they have to speak. There is no recourse. You cannot just say, oh, I'm pleading the fifth or I'm not doing anything. Because if you can't be prosecuted for anything you're going to say, then you can't be allowed to not say it. So watch this space. It's going to be very interesting. Those preemptive pardons, I believe, are probably going to be the catalyst to blow this whole thing wide open, because those folks will be skull dragged into court. They won't want to come, but they will be skull dragged into court, and they will be made to testify. If they refuse to testify, they will be thrown in jail for contempt of court until such time as they decide to talk. And that is a very, very powerful, persuasive argument to put in front of them. Once they have their pardon, hey, listen, you're off scot-free. We can't do anything to you. But now you have to tell us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And should they lie while telling that truth, they can be charged again, because the pardon didn't cover any lies after the date it was issued. So a very Machiavellian game is starting to play out in the US. And I think we should keep our eyes on that over the next 2 to 3 weeks. January 6th, obviously, is a very important date. It'll be the ratification of the Electoral College. And there is a lot of talk that Kamala Harris is at the moment seeking advice on how she can not ratify it. I would have thought the easiest thing she could do is call up Mike Pence and say, hey, listen, what did you do when Trump wanted you to not ratify everything? And why didn't you do it? well, I didn't do it because you guys told me not to, will be his first answer. But this is how you do it will be his second. And you can be guaranteed pretty much that she will go for it if she thinks there is a chance. Now, what happens if she doesn't ratify the Electoral College votes? To be honest, I'm not completely sure. I think it'll probably demand a recount, which could be interesting because just yesterday, New York City raised another 200,000 votes for Kamala Harris. Now, that doesn't sound like a great deal, I suppose, in the big scheme of things. Trump has won in a landslide in various places. But what it does is it narrows the gap of the popular vote. And there was absolutely no doubt that Trump won the popular vote. He won most states, and he has certainly won the most amount of Electoral College votes. But this is designed to weaken, to destabilize, and ultimately to impinge on the ability of the Trump administration when it comes in to do anything. They're going to try and conflate, confuse, and bugger this whole thing up, and maybe wait until the war or the wars in various different places hot up. And there are certainly wars hotting up in different places at the moment, like this little lot in Syria.
مدخل قصر الجمهوري هاي الدوام اللي صاروا بقصر الجمهوري هاي الدوام اللي صاروا بقصر الجمهوري يا بشار الكلب الحمد لله.
That is the presidential palace in Damascus, the home until today of Bashir al-Assad, the Basque president of Syria. Now, the al-Assads have been in power in Syria for 5 decades, but today the rebels have, in what is called a lightning move, taken Damascus. And they have taken a number of cities in the last week. Homs was the one they took yesterday, and they obviously didn't slow down. They went straight to Damascus. And what happened to Assad? Well, he saw him coming. He got on a plane and got the hell out of Syria. Now, where did he go? Could be the question. Of my belief will be Russia. But what are these rebels fighting for? Okay, we've got rid of Assad. What is going to replace him? Who is going to replace him? Now, the Islamic fundamentalist rebels that are currently fighting their way across Syria with the aid of Turkey and I suspect certainly some Western influence, what are they going to be? How is Syria going to settle now? Where is that going to leave that part of the world? Or will it eventually leave Syria as a smoking hole in the desert? And I fear there's every chance it could be a smoking hole in the desert. So watch this space over the next a few weeks. We are no doubt going to find who the leader of this Islamic fundamentalist rebel party or rebel group is, and what they plan for Syria. I know that one of their first actions when they reached the edge of Damascus today was pretty simple. They went to the largest jail and let everybody out. So we'll wait and see how that turns out, shall we? It does sound very eerily similar, doesn't it, to ISIS from a few years ago. ISIS mainly took over Iraq, though, at that stage. I am surprised that Bashar al-Assad Bashir al-Assad has been exiled from the country, given the exceptionally strong support he has from Moscow. And there are a large amount of Russian assets in the general vicinity, if not already on the land in Syria. They weren't used, or if they were used, they were defeated. And that is a bit interesting to me. Could that be because the Russians are stretched at the moment? Could it be that in Ukraine they are doing more damage with their drones than the Russians can with their MiGs and their hypervelocity weapons? Does that sound real to you? Not to me. But watch this space. That little area in the Middle East is going to be glowing red hot for the next couple of weeks. And of course, just watch Israel. because they'll be pushing very hard, as they have continued to do, into Lebanon and trying to expand their sphere of influence further south. And there was talk of a ceasefire. I don't think we've come across that one yet. And of course, Bibi Netanyahu has now turned his gaze to Australia. And of course, the Australian politicians have crumbled, weak, gutted Labor fucks that they are. It's not just the Labor ones. All the politicians have crumbled because, oh God, you can't upset the Jews. It's not anti-Semitic to have an opinion. It's not anti-Semitic to have facts on your side. When you state those facts, and it points out that particularly the Zionists, and I draw a very, very long black line, a separation line between Jews and Zionists. All right? Now, if you don't know the difference between a Jew and a Zionist, please go and educate yourself. All right? Zionists are not Jews. They have adopted Jewish practices. They have adopted Jewish symbols, but they have done so to pervert them. That's how that works. But Zionism is very different to Judaism. Jews follow the Torah. Zionists follow the Talmud. And if you don't know the difference between the Torah and the Talmud, I've got shows on it previously you can go and find, or give me an email and I'll try and let you know what's going on. It's very disappointing that that this is carrying on the way it is. We have now, and I say we because Albanese has just guaranteed this, another $32.5 million to protect Jewish interests in Australia. That's on top of $25 million that was given to them not long ago, and on top of the $90 million that was given to a government organization to preside over anti-Semitism. They're throwing our money to protect the Jewish name, or the Zionist name, not the Jewish name, the Zionists. That's what they're doing. And eventually somebody will come knocking on my door for saying things like that and call me an anti-Semitist and throw me in jail for it. That is what they do. It is pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. These people don't fight like men. They fight like rats. Thankfully, we have people on our team that fight like really hungry cats. And I know a few of them, which is nice. Here's another piece of interesting news. Big change coming to your air conditioner and your hot water unit. You probably already know this, because if you were silly enough to allow these pricks into your house to install a smart meter, that is their way into controlling the major appliances in your house. And look, Labor is opening the doors all open again. They have been opened before. You might recall back when that horrible, horrible prick of a human being called Malcolm Turnbull was running this country. He tried pushing this in, and people could not understand why they were sitting inside air-conditioned premises with their air conditioner wheezing away at 27 degrees. Couldn't get it any cooler than that, or 29 degrees. That was simply because your air conditioner had been turned down. Your fridge has been turned down. Any major appliance in your house that is plugged into power can be turned down, can have less electricity given to it, and therefore, guess what? You won't get charged as much. And this is how Labor plan on telling you that they've saved you money on your electricity bill. Simple. They can't charge you for what you don't use, and they're just going to turn all your shit down so that you can't use it. Now, why is it necessary to have a smart meter controlling the major electrical components of our homes? Why is that necessary, given that these flogs in the Labor Party and these absolute insane morons of the Green side keep telling us that we have the most sustainable energy on the planet? Now, rollout of renewables is doing wonderful things, yada, 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 yada. But the problem we have here is that in this very article, it states the reason why. Because they won't be able to sustain demand. We have no base load power in this country, particularly in high peak times, and we are about to go into summer. There are people watching this who live in 50+ degree heat for 3 months of the year. There are equally people who watch this in Tasmania and the southern parts of Tasmania who've never seen 50 degrees in their life. In fact, they're sweating if it turns out to be 23 or 5. But how are they going to get their heater working? How are they? Well, I suppose there's a bit of wood in Tasmania. You can go and cut your own firewood. What is the plan? How do you save yourself from this absolute misery of government control of your power? Some suggest go out and buy solar. Well, you could. I'd probably go out and buy a generator because the solar is only feeding the myth. Yes, it's useful to have. And yes, when they turn your power down, if you've got solar and batteries particularly, and you're going to need to have a fairly reasonable kind of battery in your house if you're going to be running your house off it, all of your house off it for 3 or 4 days. I know I happen to live on a property where there are a number of solar battery systems employed in people's homes. And I can tell you, after 4 days of pouring rain, it's very difficult to keep the fridge going unless you've got a generator. So bypass the idiocy. Don't encourage these pricks. Solar is no solution. Wind is no solution. We drove past a wind farm today that must have had, conservatively 100 of these bloody windmill towers in it. Not one of them was turning. Not one of them was generating power. I suspect that these ones that we drove past today are the ones like I drove past in Victoria last year, that while they turn and they spin occasionally, they're not connected to anything. They are not putting power back into any grid because they haven't got the infrastructure in place to do it yet. I suspect the ones in South Australia that we drove past today near Millicent are very similar. But they might be plugged in. If they are plugged in, why aren't they turned on? Why aren't they generating power? Oh, there's no wind today? Well, there was. There was. The greatest farce, the greatest lie told to humanity in recent years, I suppose. Get solar, get wind power. It'll fix everything. It won't even come close unless you cover the entire country in these ugly windmills and these god-awful solar farms, of which I've seen numerous examples while I've been traveling around on the road. Absolutely wonderful, purposeful farming land given over to solar panels that you can't grow anything in anymore. And of course, they don't work often enough to give you power to grow anything else outside of it. When are people going to wake up? Yes, we can bleat about it. Yes, you know about this. What are you going to do about it? Who's going to stand up and say, vote for me, I want to change this shit? And now it's probably too late because the government and the opposition have banded together to force through a raft of changes into how political parties work in this nation. So if we're going to do it, it won't be at the next election. It'll be at the one after that, because we're going to need to be registered as an entity to run, to be on a ballot. And we're going to need to be registered for a year before we can go on that ballot. So you've got time, supposedly. We've had time. We could have done it at the next election, but I needed you people to stand up for that. We, the country, need you people to stand up for that. And not one of you has, as far as I can tell, which is disappointing. And I don't know what else you need to motivate you. You all know the shit we talk about. You all know how bad it is for us. You all know there's no future for us or our children or our children's children under this current system. This current system is aiming to kill us, kill our kids, and kill our grandchildren. Yeah, kill our grandchildren. I showed you the other night how the South Australian Health Minister is desperate to make sure that your newest bundle of joy has 4 jabs, only 4, in the first 18 months of their life for whooping cough. You can add another 72 or thereabouts by the time they're 5 for everything else. In the first year of life, they'll receive over 24 shots. Did you have 24 shots when you grew up? Do you have autism? Do you walk with a lisp? Oh, looks like my camera's just unplugged itself. Somebody's playing with me. Anyway, we shall see what happens. Oh, maybe I'll turn that off and turn that back on. Nah, all right. So, for whatever reason, my camera has decided to turn itself off. And, well, it's all right. You don't need to see me. I think you can still hear me. Can you still hear me? I hope so. Stand up yourself. Is that what you're saying? I don't know, boob, I saw. Stand up yourself? Yeah, well, I'm the one out here most nights doing a show. What do you do, boob? What do you do? Boo bookers. What do you do? What do you do? You do fuck all, except sit there like a keyboard warrior and throw shit. I'll stand up. What do you think I've been doing? Vince will stand up. I know many others who will stand up. But we don't live in your electorate. We don't live in your part of the world. So why don't you think about doing something other than being brave and hiding behind your keyboard and stand up and do something for the rest of us? You might be able to get 1 or 2 dickheads off the keyboard and doing something good.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!